welcome back, guys. We're here with Shane Miller, a short-term rental extraordinaire. He won't tell you that, but I will, okay? So look, Shane, you were talking earlier about kind of how you got into short-term rentals, and I didn't want to step over that because there was this guy that you wanted to buy a short-term rental, but he wouldn't sell it to you. So what happened? Like what?
Yeah. So I would say it really came from all my background in sales and all the different companies I worked at. I just hate hearing no.
Okay.
And I never tried to walk away from something that I've spent some kind of energy on until I've exhausted all options. So instead of just saying, all right, thank you, and looking on to the next thing, I said, all right, well, if you won't sell me this property, can you partner with me? Because obviously you're doing something right. So instead of me trying to get into this and figure it out myself, you've obviously got something going on. This is your first couple properties that you just got too. Let's try to do something together. And over the last year and a half, it's been just over 2 years that I've been building this partnership, almost about 2.5 years, year and a half since I bought my first one.
Yeah.
Is just developing this partnership in the sense of how can we help each other? And they ended up going down the route of just pure management, right? They just want to be more so managing the properties, which this is 80 plus properties we've got under management.
Right.
And for me, I specialize in the acquisitions, the underwriting, the big vision of how the property should look, and ultimately acquiring investor capital. They're not very good at pitching stuff and figuring out numbers. And for me, I see the sexiness of this business, and it's easy for me to talk to other people and say, hey, if you invest this much money, this is how much money you can make, right?
Sure.
And so that's kind of the role that I filled. But really, I've only been able to accomplish this in the time that I've done it through partnering with these people. Because, man, if I'm to think about the last 2 years and me doing it on my own, I might have 2 properties, and I don't even know if they'd be doing what they're doing, right?
So I mean, this is perfect, right? In any time I've ever had a conversation with someone experienced or inexperienced, they always ask me the advice. They say, hey, Damon, if I were to get into the business, what would I do? And I always give them the same advice, and it's perfect that's come for you because unsolicited, and it's obviously worked for you.
Yeah.
And that is partner with somebody that's in the business, and find a way to get some credibility with that person. Do your homework. Sounds like you did your due diligence.
For sure.
But it was just doing that allowed you, it sounds like, to leapfrog. Like, I mean, I know some guys that have been in short-term rental space for years, and they don't have 80 properties under management. Let's just call it what it is.
And not to brag, when I say 80, like I said, we are in the luxury space in Southern California. So our 80 properties could equal 300 properties in another part of the country, right? As far as value, income, all those numbers.
100%.
Right? So I'm not trying to brag, but I'm just saying I still can't believe how much we've accomplished in this time. And it's only because of partnering. It's not even a unique thing either. Like Warren Buffett says it all the time. He doesn't buy a business unless there's a proven track record.
Right.
He's turned down many opportunities that are successful business. He says, come back to me in 10 years when you've still got this same performance, right? So I'm just copying what people before me have done is, hey, the best way to make money and guarantee, I don't like saying guarantee, but to minimize your risk as much as possible. Right?
I like the pivot there. Yeah, for sure.
is to just ride the coattails of someone else's success. You don't need to reinvent the wheel.
100%.
Right? Elon Musk bought Tesla. People think that he founded it. No, it was already a thing and he bought it. And then he just grew it, right? So it's common in all levels of success. So I don't take any personal credit that I'm some smart person.
Sure.
I just read enough books and talk to enough people because I'm kind of dumb. And I just want to have, other people help me out and I can help them out.
Yeah.
It's not fun being successful when it's just you.
Yeah, 100%. So, it's funny, the humility and also the part where you say like, hey, I'm dumb. I've had a guest here, he's a good friend of mine and he's a psychologist, and he said, look, I'm okay telling people I don't know. I don't know it. And I think that sometimes when we're getting into something that we're unfamiliar with, like let's say call it real estate investing, if that's the case.
Yeah.
We're concerned that that's our Achilles heel, not knowing.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah.
But in a way, it's your power, because if you can admit that and say, you know what, I just don't know what I'm doing here, and ask for help and do what you do know, you're proof again, like everybody else.
You just slid over it too. I'm going to stop you because the one key thing that you said is ask for help.
Amen.
There's a big Grand Canyon wide difference between saying I don't know what I'm doing and hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I need help.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
most people have this ego of like, I want to figure it out myself. I don't care about the credit.
Right.
In fact, you're not really going to see my face. You're not going to even see my name. All my listings, my name isn't even on them. It's my property manager. It's her picture.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
It's not me. And
sure.
so it's not about this ego thing. It's having the humility to say, I don't know what I'm doing. I need help.
Yeah, for sure. And
That's the key part.
And right? I love that. I love
Yeah.
that, which is true, right? If you're just sitting in the corner and just saying, yeah, I don't know, and then you don't ask for help and then take action, we're not going anywhere.
You do nothing.
So look, here's the one thing people are gonna know about you after today. Okay, I'm sorry. Maybe you didn't know that before, but now people are gonna know. It's no longer
it's just me, you and me here.
No,
man.
no. These cameras aren't for show. Okay, the microphone. This is not for show. This is a real microphone. But that's cool that you're dropping gems like this. So I guess for me and anybody else is listening, I don't know. Like I kind of got. When I first met you, I got tied up between the STR, short-term rental, and the Airbnb. Those were like two things I was like, oh, what's the difference? Mm-hmm. But when I sat down and actually understood it, huge difference, man. So like, tell me, explain to me, and for anyone else that doesn't know, what's the difference between STR and Airbnb, let's say?
Yeah. So again, like I said earlier, Airbnb is just a tech company. They're just a vessel. They're like Google. They're like anything that just when someone searches something, it makes it easier for someone to find it.
Okay.
Ultimately, it's the county or city that issues the permit, the legal permit to be able to operate as a short-term rental. And other than that, there's really no other force that provides you the capacity or incapacity to operate. Mm-hmm. Airbnb is just a vessel. It's one way to do it, right? But I know guys that their entire short-term rental business is centered around working with insurance companies. And I think it's something I think it's like every 2 minutes in America, a house either burns down or gets flooded or destroyed. Oh. And so these people that have these houses that are inhabitable, the insurance companies have to put them up somewhere else, right? And so typically it's about 10% of the house's value that they give as a credit towards this housing, right?
Okay.
And so with like my buddy, he's built relationships with insurance brokers and he said, hey, I have this portfolio of X number of properties. If you have somebody that needs a house to stay in, hit me up. And mind you, he's making more money than he'd be making as a long-term rental.
Sure.
Not as much as a short-term rental, but he doesn't have the turnover. So it's right in the middle, right?
Right.
So his whole business is built around just working with insurance brokers. It's a short-term rental because sometimes they might be there for 2 days. They might be there for a month and a half, right?
Wow.
But it's guaranteed money because it's coming from an insurance company.
Right.
He doesn't have to find the prospects. The insurance companies bring it to him. And that's just one other avenue. Right. There's other people I know that do like sober living houses, traveling nurses, even just having a property if the county or city allows it, events. You might be able to just have 10 events a year at a property if it's nice enough. And that's all you need to do to cover costs and make money. Right?
Wow.
So I try to, just like if someone calls me the wrong name, I probably get called Sean more than Shane. It's just it's Shane, right? It's the same thing with Airbnb short-term rental. Most people just think of it as Airbnb because they've done a great job with marketing and branding.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like I mentioned this story about Jesus in Nazareth and this barn that he was staying in, right? That's short-term rental. So short-term rental real estate, the aspect of being able to stay somewhere for a short period of time. Sure. The law says less than 30 days, right? It's been around forever. AKA hotels. That's short-term rental real estate.
100%.
Right?
And you guys, right, in your holdings, in your management, you guys tend to specialize in the luxury side too, right? Mm-hmm. You're not just doing any old house. These are things that you're picking strategically to focus on.
Oh yeah.
So I guess say a little bit about like why luxury versus just the everyday to day, because most people would think like, hey, I just get myself a house anywhere, and I'm in.
Yeah. So kind of like we talked about earlier, when it comes to like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I need help.
Right.
I think the biggest holdback, the biggest obstacle that most people have to get into, especially when they're getting into real estate, is price, right? People are like, how do I do it for the cheapest amount possible, right?
Okay.
And so if everybody thinks like that, what's happened to those properties that are $1 million, $2 million, $3 million properties that require hundreds of thousands of dollars down just to buy it,
right?
Let alone maintain it and whatever. Most people are scared. I look at it as just numbers at the end of the day. So with the luxury market, we can do the same kind of return numbers, or even sometimes better with the luxury side as smaller. So let me ask you this. If we're averaging 50%, 60% cash on cash on a property, would you rather have a $200,000 property or a $2 million property?
Yeah.
Right. So for me, it's a bigger number with less doors to manage, because ultimately I don't want to have hundreds of properties. I eventually want to titrate my portfolio down to like 30 or 40 properties that are just killer.
Yeah.
And so the luxury style of market is not only a higher barrier of entry, which in reality it's not. Is if you just have the money, and there's plenty of money out there that investors want to throw at.
Sure.
But it's also just the competition too. There's not that many other properties that can host as many people as we can host. Not that many people that have the capacity to even manage the type of properties like this, because sometimes it's a lot, right?
For sure. So, when you say all this, I just caught a little inclination of something we talked about offline. And that's your love-hate relationship, more hate than love with the banks. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick little break here. And I'm gonna hop back in, and we're gonna talk to Shane about his love-hate relationship with the banks and how he overcame that. So on short-term rentals. So stay tuned.